right. Welcome, everyone. I see the red numbers are rolling. I see the volume is engaged. It is episode 48. And all I can say is, auditing my language, screw you, Microsoft.
Yes. We started our shindig a little bit later than we would have because updates are a thing. And since I have Windows 10, I cannot tell my computer not to install an update, since the overlords at Microsoft have disabled that.
Wow, chroma key. Holy crap, you went weird all of a sudden. I don't even know what to say. Give me a second, guys, while I tweak this, because he suddenly went, like, jaundiced. Holy crap. This is the difference between a real camera and Skype. I was wondering if there was going to be a way for me to... crap.
Just call me Yellow Mouse.
One of these days we're gonna find some other thing other than Skype to do this with, because I'm convinced Skype does not make for the happiness.
All of our 8 viewers down there, they should. If you know of anything that is better than this, let us know. We'll be happy to try it out.
8 viewers. 8 if they are spread out across all, maybe 4 or 5 freaking episodes these days. Alright. We're going to just bust into this, and we're going to try and make this as quick as possible, because I've done nothing today, and I'd like to go do something. So, starting off with Mouse.
Alright, so we have Nintendo breaking our hearts. We have confirmation, sort of, that the Wii U will no longer be in production. They're talking about, of course, the white 32GB premium set, which is also the only available version right now. Around early March, there were rumors that, of course, the Wii U was going to be discontinued. But the company representative at the time was telling IT Media that from the next quarter and thereafter, production is scheduled to continue. In April, though, they kind of contradicted themselves with the president and CEO Tatsumaki Kimishima told investors that the company would end production of this console by March of 2018. In a recent statement, Nintendo has confirmed that the production of the Wii U in Japan would be ending in the near future, but they would not announce any additional details. So, sadness, it's the age of the Wii U is coming to a close. And if that were not enough, with Nintendo breaking console gamers' hearts, of course they're doing this in favor of the new Switch, which looks sweet, but, sadness. If you wanted to get one of those cute little NES classics for Christmas, those tiny, adorable little NES classics, which currently are going at $60 a pop, at least on the official websites, you are kind of SOL. The Nintendo Classic has actually sold out nationwide at Toys R Us, and it's currently not on the website.
Because Nintendo is infamous for just well-stocked things.
Exactly. So Nintendo said, the spokesperson said, that the item is sold out at this time, and going into this holiday season, we knew that Nintendo's NES Classic Edition was going to be a hot item among kids, and of course, kids at hearts, and we named it our 216 hot toy list for that reason.
2016, not 216.
Yeah, 2016.
The future.
For shoppers looking to get this, you can check back with Toys R Us often, as they are allegedly expected to receive additional consoles between now and Christmas. Or for the truly desperate, you can troll eBay, where you can find the console going for between $300 to $1,000 or more. This is typical of Nintendo. If you were collecting the amiibos, you know that Nintendo was infamous for terrible stocking of the rarer and of course the more sought after amiibos. they either like to drive up scarcity to drive up resale costs, or they're just incompetent.
All right, moving on.
Moving on.
Assuming this button works. There we go. At long last, Dishonored 2 is out, and not to be outdone by Warner Brothers, Bethesda's PC port is plagued by FPS and graphic optimization issues, garnering it a mostly mixed rating currently on Steam. Bethesda has promised a performance patch in coming days, but this is yet another in a very long line of multi-platform game releases where consoles are given higher priority than PC players. I realize that the PC has far more permutations and configurations to deal with, but if you can release a patch within a week of launch, you could have given the game a more thorough pre-launch stress test on PCs and patched it prior to release. Sadly, there are some reports that even PS4 version of the game has some issues with frame rates. This is a sad statement for modern AAA games. Really makes me question the concept of AAA designation anymore, when some independent early access games come out without any notable issues, and big companies are constantly struggling to backfill their failures.
Yeah, when the indies are getting it right, what on earth are you doing, AAA?
That's why I'm questioning it. Now, the game does look to be wonderful, and I do plan to have an awesome time playing it. I'm just waiting for the patch because while I love Dishonored, and I have no doubt that I will find just as much enjoyment in the sequel, to be forced to wait for a post-release fix to ensure that my initial experience isn't soured is in and of itself souring. So,
yeah, it's kind of sad that we have sort of regressed to where we were in the late 90s. Remember when you had all of these buggy products shipping out, especially from SSI when they were on the death throes after they had the golden age of SSI in the 80s with the gold box games, and then they kind of went to crap. But then you had hundreds and hundreds of games that were horribly buggy being shipped out, and back then you couldn't get patches that easily. But we're kind of, or at all. But now we've kind of gone back to that with AAA gaming, and what happened in the 90s, the late 90s and early 2000s for AAA gaming was not good, because it built a lot of bad faith with users. So what are they playing at right now? Especially since back then we didn't have indies to rely on. Now we do.
Moving on to indies?
Yes, talking about my beloved indies. So keep an eye out on Steam and GOG and all sorts of places, because Even the Ocean is going to be released next week. This is a game that I've had my eye on for a little while. It's this adorable-looking RPG arcade platformer game. It sounds weird when I describe it, so you should just go and take a look at the trailer, look it up. Let me move you. There we go. So the gist of the game is you play as a power plant worker who finds herself working with the mayor to save her city from a catastrophe. Along some of the features that the gameplay shows, you have to balance your energy bar with light and dark energies to overcome diverse obstacles and stabilize the city, meet and talk with friends, allies, and enigmatic travelers, which is a little adventure RPG side of things. It's an exploration game as well. You have an overworld map like Final Fantasy. You've got towns, environments surrounding the city. And you have customizable difficulties and play styles. So you can go for the complete experience, story only, gameplay only options, and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend keeping an eye out for Even the Ocean once it gets released and I have time to play it, because I have a ton of recitals and concerts this week.
That's also why we're late doing this.
Yes, I had a concert earlier today.
Thank God we don't do these live anymore.
Exactly. But yes, I will probably even do a little review. Moving on.
All right. Speaking of things that are coming out, the release of Final Fantasy 15 is right around the corner, and having watched the animated movie Kingsglaive, my appetite is thoroughly whetted for the game release. But the most recent demo released in Japan has some rather disappointing yet comical bugs. Disappointing in as much as the game release was originally delayed explicitly to eliminate such bugs, and comical because they feature a restaurant filled with men embracing other men. I waited just to see that reaction. Well, more accurately, the game places two men in the same seat, or sometimes no seat at all, with the overall result looking at best like one man eating while another man gives him a perpetual hug of reassurance that he's doing it right. At worst, it looks like some strange experiment in conjoining. Other issues include your standard geometry breaks resulting in holes in the world, floating landscape, etc., as well as the explosive bloom effects that make the game unwatchable or perhaps seizure-inducing at times. So, here's hoping that this is crap, more bugs, warning to themselves and fix it before the release. Otherwise, that AAA concept is still going to be in further jeopardy.
Squaresoft, what are you doing?
Squeenix, not Squaresoft. Squeenix.
I know. Squaresoft is dead. It has been dead for a long time. We have been mourning it ever since the Weenix got in.
Alright, moving on.
Moving on, another little indie game called Night Calls. You can solve murders in Paris after dark. We don't really know much about this. I saw a little teaser video and I loved it. It's basically this narrative detective noir style game, and it's by actual French developers called Monkey Moon and Black Muffin Studio, and those are two of the best studio names ever. So you play a taxi driver, not an investigator. You're a taxi driver who becomes a private investigator, and there's a string of murders throughout Paris, and you're the last person to see one of the victims alive. So then you start going into the investigation and trying to unearth clues and whatnot, using a real map of the city. The movie is inspired by, the game is inspired by movies such as Taxi Driver and Collateral, and games such as Papers, Please, The Wolf Among Us, and L.A. Noire. And the developers reassure us that this is not tourist brochure Paris. A lot of games that are set in Paris, of course, have this very, very romanticized version of the city. Montmartre, all of the pretty spots. The developers say that they're not afraid to lurk in the darker areas of Paris, the parts that you don't see in the brochures and that tourists usually don't get shown unless it is to lead them down a dark alley to deprive them of their money. So keep an eye on this. The game has no scheduled release yet outside of 2017. So keep a look, go to the website, and follow Monkey Moon on Twitter, and you'll get updates.
All right. Move on to our first of BlizzCon recaps. The devs at WoW have announced a new strategy for forthcoming patches. Gone, hopefully, are the days of expansions releasing, followed by at most 2 substantive patches, and then a year or 2 of nothingness, while the next expansion is in the works. While Blizzard will continue with larger patches such as the recent 7.1 Return to Karazhan and the upcoming 7.2 Term of Sargeras, they will also release multiple smaller patches for quality of life improvements or smaller feature additions, rather than holding out for the large patches to slip them in. They will be introducing micro-holidays that are 1 or 2 day celebrations that are game-specific, such as one where you will be able to reenact events leading up to the launch of Encourage, which happened way back in Vanilla, for those who weren't around in Vanilla, such as myself. With the winning faction having their banner displayed over the entrance of the dungeon for the entire year. So this looks very promising. Looks interesting. We'll see how well Blizzard keeps to it, since they've made multiple promises about their patch schedule in the past. But we'll see. But that's all I gotta say on this particular matter. So, moving on. This is the one I almost punched Mouse over, because he has a bad habit of giving me indie games that have no goddamn logo. Managed to find this thing after like 20 minutes of searching.
Well, I'm sorry. And in fact, you're going to kill me, because this is just a very, very brief mention. This is games to keep an eye out on. This is actually we know even less about this game than most other games. But it caught my attention. It's called That Little Star by Lucid Labs. The story is that you play Edward, who is a 12-year-old kid who is dealing with Asperger's syndrome. And he gets caught up in a murder, and he decides that he's going to try and solve this murder while also having to deal with Asperger's. and which is a disabling condition for those who have to interact in a social environment. And I can't think of a more social environment than interrogating people to solve a murder. So the game is still under development. It's scheduled to be released on Steam in 2017. Lucid Labs has sort of a reputation for making unusual games. Another game of theirs is called Stay Mum, which is the story about a young boy who is very, very imaginative, and his mother who is busy trying to make a living for the two of them. And his mother has to work very hard, so she's not there a lot of the times. And so the game goes into his imagination, sort of in a way to deal with the fact that he loves his mother very much, but she's not there a lot of times. You can find it on the iTunes App Store. And so if you're curious about that little star and how it might play or what it might look like, go ahead and take a look at Stay Mum. It's actually it's kind of, I won't spoil it. Go ahead and take a look at it.
All right, moving on. We are just rolling through these today, aren't we? That's good. Good for us.
Well, that's the idea. That was the idea.
More Blizzard news. This time on Overwatch, a new character named Sombra has debuted with the ability to hack, stealth, and teleport her way across the game map. Several videos have actually surfaced showing her glitching her way right off the map to the farthest reach of the sky for a full aerial view as she skydives back to Earth. But perhaps the more interesting is that the company has taken the popularity of Overwatch one step further. They've decided to launch an esports-style Overwatch League, complete with investor-owned teams, contract-bound players, potential endorsements, and tiered league play, leading to a final World Series of sorts. Personally, I think this is perhaps a touch ambitious on Blizzard's part. Sports ventures have a staying power because improvements to the engine aren't necessary. But consider the state of your game in 5 to 8 years. I question the longevity of this. Any game engine is, even the one who gave us WoW, even WoW needed a full overhaul after a point. So, just saying, I don't know if this is going to be a thing for very long, if it's a thing at all. I don't know.
I mean, Ultima Online is still chugging along.
Ultima Online has a very specific audience.
That's true. It hasn't updated. The engine hasn't updated much, except for the whole 3D update, which wasn't really.
Well, and again, it has a very specific niche audience. This is meant to be appealing to a huge audience, and it's supposed to have contracts and paid players. So,
good luck with that.
I'm just saying. All right, moving on.
So, one of the games that I played last year was the utterly depressing This War of Mine. This was developed by 11-bit Studios, and the game is kind of like The Sims-ish. It's The Sims if The Sims were in a post-apocalyptic... No, it's not but in a war zone, basically. You have
Sims with PTSD.
Yeah, Sims with PTSD. You have to hunt for food. You have to bargain. Then you have to deal with intruders. But you also have to take care of your refugees and see to their sanity, their needs, etc. And it's very, very difficult. And it's very, very heartbreaking. I can't play that game too long, for long periods of time. But so 11-bit Studios, the developers, have announced their new game, which is called Frostpunk. But they're not done with This War of Mine. They're doing an anniversary edition update, which is already live. And this game adds 3 new locations, new NPCs, civilians, a new ending scenario, and new achievement. It also fixes a few of the bugs that were reported, such as the fact that if you got to day 42, some people experienced Groundhog Day syndrome because that day would repeat over and over and over again. So all in all, a good update to an utterly depressing game. Do not play this game if you're feeling sad. But it's a really good game.
All right. Last but not least, Diablo 3. Blizzard has decided to revisit the past, so to speak. Patch 2.3.4 of Diablo 3 recently hit PTR and has introduced a special event known as the Darkening of Tristram, which is a 16-level retro dungeon meant as an homage to the original Diablo, including the addition of an old-school graphics filter, which makes everything fuzzier, limitation of animation to make things more jerky, and restriction of movement from full 360 degrees to 8 directions. This is all meant to be part of the 20th anniversary of the game franchise, and will be free to owners of the Reapers of Souls expansion of the game. In addition to that, it's not all Blizzard has in mind, Rise of the Necromancer is an expansion that's currently anticipated for sometime in 2017 and will introduce a new class. You guessed it, the Necromancer. But that's pretty much the sum of what that expansion is going to be. No new dungeon, no new monsters, just a new class and additional vanity elements. And it won't be free. They don't know what the price is going to be, but that won't be free. You do get the flashback to Diablo for free, but this won't be.
I wonder if you're going to get. I wonder if they're going to include a new cow level.
No. At least it's not. There's no hint at it. It's not. It's not. Well, it's not an exact duplication of the game. It's why they say it's.
But I mean, if you're going to go do an homage of the first game, you should at least have an homage to the cow levels.
Well, I think from the people who've played it, they basically say it's like playing Diablo 3, except that the Diablo 1 bosses are in it. So it's possible that Blizzard sees the game as moving into a maintenance phase at this point and is no longer warranting any substantial storyline expansions. Who knows? Perhaps this is a sign Diablo 4 is coming. I don't know.
Oh gosh.
But that's
since Diablo 3 required always on DLC, I guess Diablo 4 is now going to require, I don't know, biometric scans.
Your genetic pattern, the blood of a virgin, and hieroglyphics, just like passwords.
I can do it. I need to find a virgin, but
I know where one is. I live with them. Oh wait, that's me.
You're too far away for me to draw blood.
All right, so that's all we got this time around, guys. We are holy crap! This is episode 48. We're 2 episodes away from the 50th episode.
Woo!
Frightening.
2 weeks away. Wait.
What are we waiting for?
What are we doing for Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving's on a Thursday. We record on Sundays. What's your problem?
I'm singing that day. I'll check with you. But I am.
He does this during the show.
I know. It's spontaneous. It's people can see the show coming together.
The only time you have to worry really is Christmas and New Year's, which both occur on Sundays.
That's true. Indeed, that is. New Year's is not that big of a deal. Christmas is... Actually, I'm fine on Christmas because Asher's family celebrates Christmas on a whole different day because all the people come traveling. So it's not on actual Christmas. So, anyways, we actually made record time this time around.
That's the whole point. We went really long last time.
Last time. We're back to trying to make it compact for your comfort.
It's mouth-sized and digestible. Alright, moving away, and if I can find the button, shutting down. Peace out, y'all.